A one-point game. Bryant for the win.
Dear basketball. From the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. A love so deep, I gave you my all. From my mind and body to my spirit and soul. As a 6-year-old boy, deeply in love with you, I never saw the end of the tunnel. I only saw myself running out of one. And so I ran. I ran up and down every court after every loose ball for you. You asked for my hustle. I gave you my heart. Because it came with so much more. I played through the sweat and the hurt. Not because challenge called me, but because you called me. I did everything for you. Because that's what you do when someone makes you feel as alive as you've made me feel. You gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream. And I'll always love you for it. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. This season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding. My mind can handle the grind. But my body knows it's time to say goodbye. And that's okay. I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now, so we both can savor every moment we have left together. The good and the bad. We have given each other all that we have. And we both know, no matter what I do next, I'll always be that kid with the rolled up socks, garbage can in the corner, 5 seconds on the clock, ball in my hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to episode 132 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Dre, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
It's a really sad day, Jake.
It's an unbelievably sad day. One of the saddest Sundays of my life, probably. So, obviously, we will go ahead and start off the show on this. I originally, at the end of every football season, right before the weekend of the Super Bowl, we always come on here, we joke, we say, what did you do on your first Sunday without football? Because realistically, we're lost, and we didn't think that there was going to be anything that would really overshadow the fact that, hey, this is our first football Sunday without football, and we have to adjust, we have to find something else to do, and we find ourselves there on Sunday watching nothing but Kobe Bryant highlights and news updates about him passing away.
Yeah.
One of the saddest days ever. I will say, I wanted to come on here and joke about what we did on football, our first Sunday without football, and there we are. One of the worst things that could potentially happen, in the world of sports happens, and here we are opening the show talking about the death of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, and first, before I got down into this, I'll tell you how I found out, because at least that's somewhat funny, what happened to me when I found out. So I'm at a movie, doing the trailers. You call me. I didn't know the movie. I think I'll just text him when I'm done. And then my dad calls me, and it's like, that's a coincidence. You don't think anything of it. And then about a minute later, my phone goes like boom, 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 vibrates. And I have 2 texts and an update saying Kobe died. And I remember, I'm sitting in the theater. I think I just say loud, like, Kobe fucking died. Now I'm seeing Doolittle. The guy talks to animals. Little kids around.
Yeah.
My girlfriend goes, shh, stop yelling. I'm like, Kobe died. So then for the entire movie, I'm just sitting there just like,
the whole movie's ruined.
yeah, I'm like, Kobe's dead. Like, it sucks.
No, it's absolutely terrible. So there's a million ways we can look into this. Obviously, first things first, you have to give a big, almost FU to the media for this. Like, it came out, I had seen that it was Kobe Bryant with 3 other people. I had seen Kobe Bryant with his 3 daughters. I had seen Kobe Bryant and 9 people. Kobe Bryant and 4 people. Like, there were all different reports of all this, and like that none of them were true until they came back, and finally today they released all the victims in this horrific event. And one of his daughters was with him. But for the people who came out and were reporting with basically just careless abandonment, reckless abandonment, as you will, those people, there needs to be some kind of punishment that these people need to see, because that's a shoddy job.
And it's really bad because, like, their job is to get it out there first. So, I mean, and when Kobe Bryant died, it was like, Kobe Bryant, like, we'll talk about him at a push in a second, but, like, Kobe Bryant's huge. So they're all scrambling, trying to get out the first story because that's just what their job is. But as soon as that's happening, the police department getting tons of phone calls. There's so many calls happening, so many people at the time, and, like, one person, maybe a handful of people knew at the time it happened how many people were actually on the plane.
Yes, and I understand that part of the job. Like, yes, you have to be the first one to get a story out there. You have to be the first one. You're trying to be that first person. But to take advantage of a situation that is such a tragedy and basically try to use that for your own gain is pretty poor. Now, if you're going to come out and say somebody comes out and they make a report that the wrong guy gets hired, or, a guy signed with the wrong team, those reports that are false, whatever, nobody cares. But whenever they come out and they say that people have died and the people, have burnt in this crash that weren't even there just so they could get the story out first, that just breaks all moral code. And, it's absolutely terrible work. And, if their families found out by the media, that's even worse. I'm willing to say that some people that were, obviously family friends, a lot found out through the media. But close family, probably even for the people that weren't, related to Kobe Bryant, they were related to the baseball coach or the baseball coach's family. Like, those people probably found out the same way you and I found out, which isn't right. That just is not right. So enough on the media there. The legacy of Kobe Bryant, man. This is I think this is one of the very first deaths that I've experienced that I'd never actually met somebody and have been shook in a terrible way.
And I thought about this last night, and like, why? Like, the guy was telling you, like, why was that so? And I thought back to watching Kobe's last game. I remember watching it whenever he just went off in the third and fourth quarter. And I remember who was the time? Byron Scott was the coach. He called timeout late in the fourth quarter. And Kobe's last game. And then all of a sudden, the cameras on the corner hit me. I'm just like, that's a legend for the last time. And there's any more legends left. Like, LeBron, might get into that aura eventually, and KD might, Steph might, but Kobe's the last one. Like, even more than Shaq. And what I mean by that is, like, back in the 70s or 80s, like, Dominique Wilkins, great player, legend of the game. But if you're not a Hawks fan, your favorite player isn't Dominique Wilkins.
No.
Kobe Bryant is a legend on a point of his, like, he went into the league with, like, Tim Duncan, AI, Kevin Garnett. But if you were a Timberwolves fan or a Spurs fan, your favorite player wasn't Tim Duncan. It wasn't Kevin Garnett. It was Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe Bryant defined an entire generation of basketball fans. He defined all youth of basketball fans, and now he's just gone.
Yes.
And the best way I can describe the difference between Kobe Bryant and every other great player ever, next year there will be 3 unanimous, I don't know if they're unanimous, not a Basketball Hall of Fame, but there will be 3 unanimous flip-out Hall of Famers. Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's the only one of people who actually said the game misses him.
Yes.
And that's what made Kobe Bryant different. The game needed Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant didn't need the game at the end.
And, honestly, even past him being the superstar on the court, like, I felt like, Kobe walks away from the court, walks away from basketball, and still we get Kobe Bryant involved in the game of basketball. Comes out with the detail. Comes out with,
best snap show there is.
Best detail. Or he comes out with detail. Then he comes out with, details even stemmed further than Kobe Bryant.
Peyton Manning's on now.
Daniel Cormier for MMA. Peyton Manning for football. Like, Kobe was one of those guys that, yes, he retired, there'd be 5 seasons now coming up on his, because he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. We were expecting to get Kobe in basketball for 30 more years.
Oh, yeah, at least. I think now that he's with his daughter, and his daughter came out the game, all the reports coming about how he watches the game now because his daughter wants to watch the game now, and now him and his daughter died in a plane crash.
Yes.
And that video of him talking on the song, not the saddest thing ever. And I was thinking about all the things to say about it today, and it hit me, I'm in the comments like, this is just fucking sad.
It's just
like,
sad.
It's just incredibly, incredibly sad that Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Gianna, it's incredibly sad.
Yes, that's really all you can say about the situation. And honestly, with his whole legacy after basketball, like, he was leaning into doing stuff that we had never really seen before from a basketball player.
Yeah, and we know he made the Academy Award short they just heard to open the show. We know he gained ball basketball. We know he had ball at the detail. We know he was selling this soft drink and made $200 million off of. He was enjoying and embracing post-playing life just as good as any athlete has ever. Like, this ain't Peyton Manning level of enjoyment right now, and untimely.
And honestly, like, even stemming away from basketball here, Kobe Bryant, realistically, it was almost creating, like, a family of basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like, in football, you look at a family of football, you have the Mannings, obviously, and now we were going to get Kobe. We were going to get Kobe's daughter, probably playing college basketball. Kobe was doing a lot for the female community, for just women's sports in general. And now we don't get that. And honestly, that's probably the saddest part of this whole thing. Even, college women's basketball players were like crying because they had Kobe as a mentor. And even Shaq's son. A lot of people said that there was so much bad blood between Shaq and Kobe. Guys, yesterday was the day of Kobe's death, and yesterday morning he had actually reached out to Shaq's son, Sharif O'Neal, who's now playing at UCLA, and just asked him, how everything is. Like, Shaq's son referred to Kobe as an uncle. Like, Kobe was such a mentor to all these people. You had Kyrie Irving not even playing yesterday. Now we have, the Clippers and Lakers game is now getting pushed back. It's being postponed. Just because this guy had such an impact on the game. Like, this kind of stuff just doesn't happen. And for everybody that thinks they're invincible or has, like, bad blood with somebody, like, this is a time that you kind of just put everything into perspective. And, like, when a guy like Kobe Bryant dies and isn't supposed to die now, it just puts everything into a different perspective. So I was going to ask, what is your favorite all-time Kobe memory? There's a ton. There's a ton. What's your favorite Kobe Bryant memories?
My number one memory of Kobe Bryant, there are 2. It was that game the last game I watched it all and just remember it so vividly in my mind. I remember Gordon Hayward stepping over the boundary line to Kobe could score 60 points and he missed a free throw. That was awesome. But now I remember him making the 2 free throws that torn Achilles. Because that was pimp shit. The last summer, my niece's friend Tori Seal doing a cartwheel or whatever, and she finished doing the little maneuvering thing. I was like, that's good. Kobe one time for the Achilles with the free throws. He finished that flip. That's always as impressive.
Mamba mentality, man.
Mamba mentality.
That's all you can say about that. I brought in a few that were just like absolutely outstanding. Like you look back at the 2010 championship, Kobe's last. Game 7, the guy goes out there, has 15 rebounds, doesn't have his best offensive performance, but he still wills that Lakers team into beating one of the greatest starting fives in NBA history. I was talking to you earlier. I said, Leighton, do you remember how just good that starting five was? You were like, I remember it was one of the all-time best starting fives. You're talking about Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rasheed Wallace, and Kevin Garnett. Like, those are 5 guys that are absolutely great at that time period in basketball. And Kobe was able to beat them with guys like Metta World Peace, Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum. Like, that was a 2010 run that he put on was absolutely awesome. And during that run, you'd always heard just the stuff going on behind closed doors where Kobe would listen to the music that the Celtics had, whenever they beat him prior in the finals, he listened to that music. Like, he just nonstop thought about it. And that was part of the whole Mamba mentality aura. You had Matt Barnes, pump fake in his face, Kobe not even flinch at all. You have the Mamba mentality. Kobe basically was the first guy that people looked at and said, the look in the eye argument, because Kobe always had that look in his eye that he was going to go out there and basically just absolutely destroy you. He wasn't looking to win. He was looking to dominate and win with dominant fashion. Another one, the torn Achilles, obviously great. The 60-point game. Like, there are so many things. Even Jalen Rose. We all laugh at Jalen Rose whenever you hear the number 81 because Kobe scored 81 points on his team. He had the 60 points in 3 quarters. Like, all that now is just, memories of a legacy that people are going to talk about for the next 100 years of basketball. It can't be replaced. One little thing that I was wanting to mention, though, because obviously we're not going to get the acceptance speech that, realistically, if you could pick one acceptance speech that you were looking forward to hearing, it was going to be Kobe Bryant's whenever he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he has to wait 5 years from retirement to be inducted. Do you think that this is something that people are going to look at now and say, hey, maybe once a guy is retired, there can be a way that they can get into the Hall of Fame without having to sit out those 5 years? Do you think that this will change anything?
No, I really don't, because like you just said earlier, he died way before anybody was ready for him to expected him to, and he'll be only the 5th player to go in posthumously.
He's only the 5th?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Into the Hall of Fame, because players a lot of times retire in mid-30s, they're not 40. He wouldn't have died for the helicopter crash. So no, I don't think that happened too. And then a big point of the Hall of Fame, Peter King wrote this today actually, was let the players retire and be celebrating his career for retiring, and then 4 or 5 years later people get to revisit and celebrate his career again. So that's why they wait the time period. Now, baseball and football do 4 years, maybe basketball change to 4 years, but I don't think it'd be anything like next year or the 2 years after.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that won't change, but it's something to look at because it's very upsetting that we're basically robbed of getting to hear his legacy being celebrated one final time.
At least he knew he was going to get in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is not like Pete Rose who could die tomorrow and then get in 6 years.
Yeah.
When they let him back in on the ballot.
Yeah. Such a bummer. So you remember the more I looked into this, the more I was kind of just like more even in awe of Kobe. Do you remember the famous, probably Kobe's most famous assist? He throws the ball up. Yeah, he did have one. Actually, in that 62-point game, I don't think he had any assists, where he had 62 points in 3 quarters. That little lob that he had to Shaq, it was in the Western Conference Finals, Game 7 against the Portland Trailblazers. Shaq jumps up like unbelievably high. You didn't realize Shaq could get up this high. Kobe throws a perfect pass. Shaq catches it, just dunks it, comes running down the court with his tongue out. You know exactly what you know what play I'm talking about?
Yeah, no. That year, the first my first memory was that season.
That game, Kobe Bryant and Shaq actually came back from 15 points down in the 4th quarter to beat that Trailblazers team. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and just move ahead. There's really no slick transition. I'll just go ahead and try to turn the tide of things, and we'll get to my thoughts.
You got more thoughts for us?
Yes, I do. Zion Williamson, 6 C's thick, built like a bowling ball. Maurice Jones-Drew on a basketball court. Zion Williamson, only making threes because he's getting the Husky boy at the park treatment. Curtis Blades, next stop, Titletown. NFL Pro Bowl, who said chivalry was dead. Cincinnati Reds, Nick Castellanos, highway robbery. Kareem Hunt, Justin Blackmon, part 2. Derek Jeter, not a top 100 player all time, but one vote shy of being 100% on his first ballot. Larry Walker, about damn time. Derek Rose, because he's aging like a fine wine. I'm looking into my crystal ball, and I can see Andy Reid, Hawaiian shorts, red legs, Hawaiian shirt, Gatorade bath from Travis Kelce. And there's a new book out this week, and it's titled 20-Year Wait Was Well Worth It, and it was written by Andy Reid. And those have been my thoughts. All right, Leighton C. So, did you see Kareem Hunt?
I did see Kareem Hunt. That was a very Kareem Hunt like thing to do. Very Browns.
I thought even more than just Kareem Hunt. I thought that this was a more of a Browns indictment than a Kareem Hunt indictment. Mm-hmm. Failed a drug test. So we'll see what goes from here and how the Browns actually handle it. So, Leighton C. Pro Bowl was yesterday. AFC defeated the NFC 38-33. Where do you stand with the Pro Bowl? Do you think it's entertaining? Do you think it's worth having? What are your thoughts on the Pro Bowl itself?
I have not watched a second of the Pro Bowl since I was about 13 or 14 years old, and I realized that wasn't actual football. But it's worth having because it's profitable to the NFL, so we'll keep having it. And it's fun for the players to go out there and hang out with each other and enjoy football in not a super competitive way. Because all they get for 360 60 days of the year is competitive football down their throats.
Yeah, and people hate on this thing. And I absolutely love the Pro Bowl. Like, you see these players, you get to kind of understand that these players are more than just robots who go out there and play competitive football 364 days out of the year. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever they go and they get to basically, hey, if you have a good season, and did you realize this year there really wasn't people that chose not to play? Like, it was basically...
Yeah, I thought Lamar Jackson played. That's what the hell out of it.
Lamar Jackson played. Patrick Mahomes played last year after winning MVP. We're having 2 MVPs on back-to-back seasons play. Russell Wilson, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson having such a great year, Russell Wilson was out there. Actually, Russell Wilson did one of the coolest things I've seen in pro sports in a long time. So, obviously, Russell Wilson, young gun, he's going to get to play in, 10-plus more Pro Bowls, obviously. He was actually elected to be a Pro Bowl starter, and he chose to let the starting job go to Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees probably wasn't going to be playing in, too many more. We all expect him to play for 1-2 more seasons. Uh-huh. But Russell Wilson, there's no guarantee of that, so he went ahead and let him take it over. I absolutely love the skills challenge. I say it every year. I watch it every year. You get to watch these players without helmets on, without pads on. You get to know them at a more personal basis. Like, you look at basketball and baseball, like, these people aren't hidden. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see their faces, you hear their voices, you get to kind of learn who they are, and you get to see their behaviors because, hey, they're not wearing a mask all the time. In football, it's nice to have this Pro Bowl where these guys basically... You get to watch the skills challenge, and they don't wear their masks. Like, you get to learn that these are actually human beings and not just robots that are out there playing competitive football all year. I really do like the Pro Bowl. Is there anything that you see that they could do to make the Pro Bowl more interesting to every football fan and not just people that are like me that'll watch football? It doesn't matter who it is.
They'd have to change a lot of the dynamic for me, but they could somehow just make it 7-on-7. Like, don't have them in pads. Just have 7-on-7. And just get, like, Michael Thomas and Tyreek Hill and Donovan Hopkins on the same side of the field against like Stephon Gilmore and Marshall Lattimore or somebody else. Something like that would be fun, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still uncompetitive football.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I saw a highlight of Adonte Adams before he dunked the ball or whatever. Touchdown pass, Jamal Adams wanted to kill him, but he couldn't kill him.
Dude.
And to me, that's always just going to be like, yeah, I can't.
Jamal Adams laid 2 hits
Did
in
he?
the Pro Bowl.
I
There was
like
one of them where Jamal Adams is just like running like carefree, just lays a guy out on the sidelines. And like everybody kind of stopped for a minute. And then I think it was
it worse than Sean Taylor hitting the punter?
It wasn't as bad as Sean Taylor hitting the punter, but Jamal Adams is. If there's a guy that I've seen in today's football that's even close to Sean Taylor, it's Jamal Adams. The guy has one speed, can't turn it off, and like he's just running around with reckless abandonment. And one of the guys even said, as soon as the hit happened, I just started laughing because, and I even said to myself, I said, Jamal Adams only has one speed, and that's what I said to myself. And then immediately, I think it was Booger McFarland maybe calling the game. He immediately just goes, "Yep, there's Jamal Adams. He only has one speed." I'm like, exactly.
I can't do your job, Booger. Here, I'm snot rocket.
The only guy who could go in there and just lay people out and nobody even think twice about it. They did actually put in a rule this year that they tried out. Instead of an onside kick, you get the ball at your own 25, and it's 4th and 15. And if you convert, you continue the drive. But if you don't convert, the other team gets the ball immediately. You like that rule?
That's not bad.
I didn't think that was a bad rule instead of onside kicks.
It's still XFL style coming at us.
That's what I kind of thought. Instead of, the onside kick, which never works anymore because you don't get a full steam ahead, I think this is something that if you want to make the game safer, this is something they could potentially look at in the future because they tried it this last weekend, and I think it was Kirk Cousins through a pick. So I think
Can't
this
believe
is
that.
Yeah, I know.
First time, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, clutch time, Kirk Cousins, that's what you get.
Good job, Mikhail.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a in-depth analysis of Super Bowl week. Obviously, we have the Chiefs and the 49ers. Latency, what storylines are you ready to hear this week leading up to Super Bowl Sunday?
My first storyline I'm ready to hear is how Jimmy G's 2.5, 3 seasons, however long it was, in New England paved the way for him to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback for the 49ers, even though he'd been much better with the 49ers. Well, I can't even say that. He only defeated the Patriots.
He was undefeated.
He had shown some stuff with the 49ers that he probably not have with the Premier Patriots.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Whenever they come out and they say, "Oh, all those seasons with the Patriots, this is what's paved the way." Okay, Matt Castle. Okay, where was he? Brian Hoyer. Where was he? Like, you have all these backup quarterbacks that went and played elsewhere that really weren't very good. And it's not because they were good just because they played with the Patriots. Like, they didn't learn anything in the Patriots that put them over the top to go play elsewhere. Like, we're reaching for things there. I have one. Eastern Illinois Super Bowl. Not only is it Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a quarterback at Eastern Illinois, but Kyle Shanahan's father, Mike Shanahan, was the quarterback and offensive coordinator at Eastern Illinois University. You got another Super Bowl?
Somebody on ESPN talked about how this win will cement Patrick Mahomes already as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Because last time that was said about quarterback Colin Kaepernick, we all saw what happened to him. It was Ron Janowski that said it, actually.
Yeah, that was a bad take. I do think that, if he does win the Super Bowl, obviously he's going to go.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I think he is, but I don't want somebody to say already because then he might not be.
2 seasons as a starting quarterback, and we're already just ready to just shell him into the Hall of Fame. Colin Kaepernick was honestly a guy that you look at that was putting together just great season after great season, and then goes to the Super Bowl, doesn't win, and things just don't work out.
Had no real flaws in his game up until that point.
Until they figured him out. I have another one. Bill sharpens iron. Both coaches are 0-2 combined in Super Bowls, and they both lost to Bill Belichick. So we're going to hear just how great of a coach Bill Belichick is, even though he's not in the Super Bowl, that he's beaten both of these coaches before. You have another one for us?
Last one. This is my favorite kind of storyline, because the one that, some guy did some really, really deep digging, a whole lot of Googling. Might not be the exact headline, but something along this line. The connection from Shanahan to Vigo goes really deep. Shanahan's uncle put on Andy Reid's cousins, Bill Leaf, to his softball team.
Did they really?
No.
Oh.
But every time it's like, back in college, this player's dad, this player's brother, and they're connected for that reason.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, he played with Andy Reid's great nephew, and that's how these two have always been just intertwined. They always bring something out of the woodwork like that. I have one with Andy Reid Hawaiian shirts and his legs and shorts. Guys, Andy Reid has, he's first team all legs team. He looks great in shorts, kind of like Josh Allen. And the Hawaiian shirts has already started. That's the best part. I have another one. Andy Reid, including the playoffs, is 23-5 in his history off of a bye.
Damn. Anything saying go for bye week.
23-5 off of a bye week. That is absolutely unheard of. 18 games above 500. So that's pretty good. Another one. Why pay NFL running backs? Damian Williams, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, LaShawn McCoy. These are all guys that are probably going to get at least one carry in this Super Bowl. So why pay the running backs? This is where tight ends are going to make their payday. Because you have – who's the best tight end in the NFL in your opinion? Who's the second best tight end in all of football? Best two tight ends in all of football are playing. And you can't say that these teams have any other position where they are number one and number two in the entirety of the NFL. You can say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, maybe second best quarterback in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo is nowhere close. The wide receiver core, neither one of these teams probably have a top five wide receiver. Their offensive lines are pretty good, but I wouldn't say that they're dominant in one area compared to the rest of the NFL. And then the defenses.
As a unit, 49ers have the best front seven, probably best pass rush for sure.
Oh, yeah, yes.
As a unit, but I wouldn't say Nick Bosa is.
But then we look at the other side of the coin, and it's like, well, the Chiefs, they really don't have much.
They have Frank Clark, who does really good sometimes. Phil Selleck makes one play here and there.
Last Super Bowl headline, Damian Williams revenge game. Getting to play in Miami. He played 4 seasons in Miami, had 500 total rush yards.
What a career.
What a career. And he's the starting running back in the Super Bowl. Could potentially win the Super Bowl. How funny would it be? I've said it once. I'll say it again. If Raheem Mostert or Damian Williams win Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, I'd love it. That'd be great.
That's what I'm praying for.
They're fantastic. People out there who don't play Madden, there was this deal on New Year's Eve. You spend $100 and you get the Super MVP on your team at 9 overall. I didn't buy it. Drake didn't buy it. But if it's like Emmanuel Sanders or Raheem Mostert or something like that,
Deebo Samuel,
that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
D Ford.
So that's all the storylines that I have that you could really reach out for. So first off, what are the keys to the 49ers winning?
This one's easy. Gets back Mahomes fast, they get a deep ball. Early in the season, we saw the Chiefs, Mahomes in the armor. And part of the reason was because Mahomes was injured. How did he get injured, though? They got to him fast and hit him a lot. Early in the season, Mahomes was hit a whole lot of times.
A ton.
And then he was out for a couple games, came back, and the O-line got fixed. The 49ers have to get on him quick. That's make him shuffle down the field and pick him off, or just sack him. They got to stop passing Mahomes. And on offense, Kyle Shanahan can't be over-aggressive, but he can't be too conservative either. We know he wants to run the football. It worked against the Packers. If it doesn't work in the first drive against the Chiefs, you can't abandon it. But that being said, though, if it's halftime and it still hasn't worked, you can't keep running the ball for a second down. Yes. Kyle, you got to have a good game plan here because this Chiefs team's a real deal.
Yes. So on the offensive side of the ball for the 49ers, my number one key is keep the Chiefs guessing. Mm-hmm. You have to keep the Chiefs guessing. Like Leighton said, you cannot come out here and just establish the run. And you can't come out here and go pass. You have to use your motion. You have to keep the Chiefs defense on their toes. You have to keep them guessing because, quite frankly, I know Jimmy Garoppolo has really exceeded the standards.
Oh, yeah.
The standards that were set on him, he's exceeded them. But he is not good enough to go out there and put the team on his shoulders and basically outduel Patrick Mahomes. We're talking about an offense that has Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, George Kittle. There's one guy out of their whole entire offense that I think is good enough to put a team on his back, and that's George Kittle. That's the only guy on this offense that I say, hey, you can put the team on your back, but why do that? You keep them guessing, you get it to all your B-plus talent out there, and you just, you use George Kittle when you have to. And you have to keep this Chiefs defense guessing, because if you give the Chiefs a little bit of room there on the defensive side of the ball, and they start getting things working on defense, you better watch out because you're in for a long day. Defensively, I'm going to be honest with you here. I have no idea what they can do. I don't. Latency, I'm going to go ahead and name off a list of teams, and you tell me whenever I get to a team with a bad defense, okay? Titans, Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, Broncos, Bears, Texans.
I wouldn't call the Raiders
They're not great,
very good either. I wouldn't call the Titans that good either.
but they're serviceable. Second half. This was all in the second half of the season. Titans got better.
But Titans helped their carrying the ball anyway, though.
Yes.
But yeah, I get your point.
So this is the Titans 2 times and the Chargers 2 times. Those are 9 games total there. The Chiefs never got held below 23 points, and they averaged 32 points per game since Mahomes returned from his injury. He's had 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, honest to God, outside of basically saying this front seven has to put Mahomes on his butt over and over and over and over and over, that's the only way that they're going to be able to slow this defense down, or this offense down. So defensively, I really don't know what the answer is. Obviously, you could take the cop out and say, oh, all you have to do is stop Tyreek Hill. Well, we saw a team stop Tyreek Hill, and that was the Texans, who were up 24-0 and ended up losing the game before halftime was over. So defensively, you just have to hope that Patrick Mahomes doesn't bring his A game, because if he does, you have no answer. So we talked about the 49ers. What about the Chiefs? What are the keys to the Chiefs winning this football game?
Just show up and do your thing. O-line, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is not going to lose you a football game ever. He will only win them for you. You give him a chance to do that. If they can keep him up in the pocket for 3 or 4 seconds, let the guys get open on offense, let Andy Reid's elaborate play design actually play all the way through, they will win this game. It could be tough still, but that how to win the game. Defensively, if they have an offense, defense is nothing to worry about, because 49ers aren't going to score 30 points on you.
No.
On that defense, they won't score 30 points.
No, not on this Chiefs defense. So offensively, what I have for the Chiefs, Mahomes' legs are going to be very important. Because if you look at teams that have had success against this 49ers, just terrific defense, Kyler Murray, he scored 25 points in each game that he played the 49ers. Russell Wilson averaged 24 points per game against the 2 games he played against the 49ers. Lamar Jackson had 101 rushing yards and 1 touchdown against the 49ers with his legs. And this defense for the 49ers have held teams to below 90 rush yards in 4 of their last 5 games. And that's including Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Freeman, Todd Gurley. None of those guys could find running room against this 49ers front seven. And I can promise you, if those guys can't, Damian Williams is not going to be able to. I think that if the Chiefs want to win this game, a big key offensively is going to be the legs of Patrick Mahomes, which we've seen, because I think he was the first quarterback in NFL history to have back-to-back playoff games with 50 rush yards on top of his 250 pass yards. Mahomes can move, and he's going to have to move to beat this 49ers team. Defensively, the Chiefs, the number one thing that they have to do is force either a negative play or a no-gainer on first down. You look at what this 49ers team has done. Jimmy Garoppolo has passed the ball 27 times total in 2 playoff games. 27 times is the low mark for a guy to pass the ball in 1 game. He's done that in 2 games, and the main reason why is because when the 49ers run the ball on first down, they get 5-6 yards. That means they can run the ball again on second down and turn that into either a first down or a 3rd and 1 where they can run it again. So if you get that negative play on first down, or you hold them to no gain on first down, now you're looking at a 2nd and 10, which could end up being a 3rd and 8, puts the ball in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands and force him to make a play. A guy who's only had to drop back 27 times in 2 games. You have to get the negative play on first down. That is even more important, in my opinion, than the 3rd down play whenever you are the Chiefs defense. because quite frankly, you are not going to stop the 49ers on 3rd and 2. You are not, your defensive line, they've been okay, and they've been good recently, but let's be honest, the best rushing team in football is not going to be stopped against this Chiefs front 7 on a 3rd and 2. So, next up, what are your favorite prop bets of this Super Bowl?
The first favorite prop bet of the Super Bowl comes from Vanessa Anthem. You got two for you, actually, with this one. The over of 2 minutes. And will Demi Lovato be wearing a dress, skirt, or something like? Yes on both of those. Last night, during the Grammys, she sang in a dress. And she sang very, very loudly. But that means she really, really held those notes. First time she sang in a long time publicly, she really brought it. She's bringing it here too. Definite over, definite dress. Because she's also got a little bit thick side. Yeah, not saying she looks bad, but the thighs are pretty thick right now. So, definite dress, brother.
Okay. I have a prop. One of my favorite props, especially for the odds, I'm going Raheem Mostert first touchdown. I think it's right now it's plus 750. I think that if you hop on this now, you'll be in good shape because if you think about how these teams start, the Chiefs, as of recent, their scripted plays have not been that great. They come out and they're slow getting started, and you know if they get the ball first, there's a chance that they're not going to turn this into 7 points. Where the 49ers, they are the best with their scripted plays. Almost every time that they get the ball to start the game, bam, 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 run the ball, pass the ball, run the ball, they end up scoring, and it's mostly on a touchdown run. Raheem Mostert has been on absolute terror with scoring touchdowns. I think that if you're going to get value here for the first touchdown, I think the first touchdown will be Raheem Mostert. And I'm very confident to say that he'll be the first one. Do you have another prop bet that you like?
Yes. Let me get back up to it here real quick. Sorry, difference. Go ahead. I can't find it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and pop off. You just give me a thumbs
I found
up.
it. I
Okay,
got this.
you ready?
How many times the Patriots 20-3 comeback be mentioned? Over 1.5. That is plus 110. It is plus 110. I'm saying it's a good bet because it's possible the Chiefs get up 21-3, 21 something at some point in time. That comeback will be mentioned because they got to keep viewers watching the game.
And the biggest kicker on this is it's Kyle Shanahan.
And it's Kyle Shanahan. Who was involved in that game? This is locked for the yes. We're going to put this right now.
And you could honestly see the 49ers, like I said, Chiefs are a little slow starting team. The 49ers get on you early. We could get that into that situation where, hey, we've got the 49ers up by a couple touchdowns. You've got Kyle Shanahan calling plays for the 49ers over there, and people just talking and talking and talking about that comeback. I actually like that one a lot. I have the over of 54.5 points. My projected score is 55. But I think it's going to go over even more. It could go over more than that. I think it'll be very interesting game if it doesn't go over that, because then basically everything I thought about the Super Bowl is basically going to go out the window. You have the number 2 scoring defense with the scoring offense with the 49ers, and we know what the Chiefs are. Whenever Patrick Mahomes is under center, they can go off at any time. And you look at what the Chiefs have done recently, every one of their games have been over 55 points. Like, they've just been in track meets with the Titans, a track meet against the Texans. I think the 55 points is a lock. Do you have any others? Because I actually have 2 more.
Well, last one I got is, will it be a flea flicker attempt in the game? I'm going to go yes. Andy Reid's a great play designer. He played a Super Bowl, and if he had a chance to make a big comeback or put a nail in the coffin, I think he might do that.
He had flea flicker a few years ago against the Patriots open the season. I have a line. I have 3 more. There's one for the highest scoring quarter in the whole game, either 49ers or the Chiefs. You can get the Chiefs right now at minus 110. Guys, this Chiefs offense is the team that went up and put up 28 points on the Texans in the second quarter. Then they went on and just put it on the Titans again in the second quarter. I'm expecting that second quarter for the Chiefs to be an offensive explosion. I think that they're going to be very mediocre to start off the game. Once Andy Reid sees what you're doing defensively, him and Patrick Mahomes, they're 2 of the best in the game of adapting. And I think once that first quarter has kind of come and gone, the Chiefs are going to put it on them. I think that's going to be the highest scoring quarter in the game, and I like it for the Chiefs. And also, there is a second quarter specific there's a bet on the second quarter who is going to score more points. It is minus a half a point for the Chiefs in the second quarter. It's plus 110. I love that for the Chiefs because if there's a 2-minute drill that needs to be done, Patrick Mahomes is going to get that ball and he's going to score. And there's basically 7 free points for you for the Chiefs. Last one I have is Patrick Mahomes rush yards. I couldn't find what the number is. I don't care what it is. If it's below 50, I'm taking it. Because Patrick Mahomes, over on the rush yards, he's going to have to run for them to be successful. And I see the Chiefs being successful a lot in this game. So do you have any more prop bets that you like?
Tails.
Tails? Tails never fails.
I bang tails.
All right. I'm absolutely excited for this Super Bowl. So, who wins? What's the score? And who is the MVP?
49ers win.
49ers win.
Yep. When was the last time you thought to yourself, there's no way this team loses the Super Bowl? I can tell you when it was. Remember you told me this.
Well,
In 2013, we were on the phone. You told me no team could cover this Bronco offense. Seahawks did it.
and they killed them.
Same division. Both teams, same divisions. 49ers could win this game 32-27.
32-27.
Very odd score, but it's going to happen.
Who's MVP?
Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman.
I actually didn't have one of those, but Tevin Coleman I have feeling right now.
Okay. They said that he would be questionable if the Super Bowl was yesterday. They said that he would probably play, though, if it was yesterday. So he's getting another week of rest.
And he's running back for the 49ers.
I'm going Chiefs 31, 49ers 24. Mahomes wins the Super Bowl MVP. And I think this is going to be a game where they're going to have to dig themselves out of a hole. I see the 49ers getting up early. I'm saying like a 10-0. And I think that this game is going to go very similar to how the Chiefs and the Titans game went. Once that second quarter hits, the Chiefs start humming on offense and ultimately find a way to win this game. Chiefs 31, 49ers 24. All right, so it is time, latency, for the staple of the show. It is darts. And for the circumstances of today, we will actually not be throwing any darts. I have a game for us to play. It is called Mamba's Moments. Okay, so the way that this will work, they will go head to head. We will put up two of Kobe Bryant's most famous moments, and we will discuss which one of those moments were either, they can either be the most impressive or they could be, something that, we just hold near and dear to us. Which one do we like the most? And we'll start it off first. Obviously, Kobe had the short film, Dear Basketball, and he won an Oscar for that. So, Kobe Bryant's Oscar versus his 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors, where he shot 60% from the field, 54% from three, 18 of 20 from the free throw line, and he had the number 2 game score in NBA history of 63.
I don't know, because the Oscar, on one hand, is a triumph almost in the field of. It is a triumph.
It's the gold standard.
It is the gold standard. But that wasn't all him. Yeah, he wrote the letter, but somebody else brought him to make it into a short film. But with the point game, it's just like, I thought like Devin Booker could score that many points in a game, or somebody like that.
Oh, no, nobody could do this.
But could he shoot that well, though? I'm going to go the 81-point game.
60% from the field.
Yeah, I know it.
54% from three.
That's the kicker right there. That's how well he did.
Free throws. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
Both of these are obviously in the highest regards. Obviously, I think he's the only athlete to ever win an Oscar. Mm-hmm. Am I right?
Yeah.
And he's only the second guy ever to be able to score over 80 points in a game. Three?
Then Dan Robinson scored 82.
I don't think so. I think this is the second highest in NBA history. I thought.
Yeah, you might be right. Go ahead and.
I think it's the 81-point game because honestly, this is something everybody talks about. Anytime somebody gets hot in the first quarter, immediately all things turn to the 81-point game. I think this 81-point game was even more impressive than what Wilt Chamberlain did with 100 points. I know that 100 points is a lot, but we were in a time where basically Wilt Chamberlain could just back his way to the rim, catch the ball, turn around, and dunk the basketball. The 81-point game is probably the best game in NBA history. A game score of 63 That Game 7, just to tell you how impressive an NBA a game score, which is some crazy equation that somebody smarter than me figured out. A game score of 63 is so good that Game 7 in the finals against the Celtics that I told you about, that they ended up winning, Kobe had 15 rebounds, that was a game score of like 9.9. So it was 10 times as impressive as that Game 7. I have to go with the 81-point game, maybe going down as one of Kobe's best moments, and I even think that it was more impressive than the Oscar, and the Oscar was as impressive as anything.
It's worth noting that Kobe also had 2 assists in that game.
He had 2?
People forget that.
Easy to forget. And then he scored 81 points.
Turn the ball around.
All right, so we were both in agreement, 81-point game.
Yeah.
I think that's number 1 on the Kobe pecking order. Next up, we have Kobe 62 points in 3 quarters versus the Mavericks. At that time in the game, Kobe didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Kobe had scored 62 points. The Mavericks had scored 61. He shot 58%, 0 assists in that game. The game that we're going to put it head-to-head to, 60-point performance, shot 22 of 50, last game of his career. Which game do you think is the more impressive?
Oh, last game was good for sure.
Last game of his career.
How he did. First 2.5, first 3 quarters were all that great. I'm watching thinking, well, you know, Kobe's always his last game. It's probably is what it is. Then fourth quarter, he just went bananas and made that 3. And I'll never forget watching it. It was great.
And he dropped the Mamba out.
Dropped Mamba out. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you look at just games like the impressiveness of a game in the history of the NBA, that 62 points in 3 quarters, guys, he was well on his way to tie or beat his own record there. That was as impressive as it gets. But that last game just had the aura of an old school Kobe game, and he was well past his prime. This is a guy that was just fighting back from injuries every other day. Did not have his best work throughout that season. He was in the twilight of his career. But to be able to go out there and score 60 points basically on your last leg, in your last stand, in your last game, is one of the all-time moments in sports history. Probably the best last game of anybody's career in the history of sports.
Amen. But
he turned around and handed the ball off a ton.
No, bullshit hit that one tight end for that long touchdown pass.
Yes. No, I think it goes up there with the Peyton Manning type of thing.
It was very storybook how he went out.
Yes.
It was very storybook, perfect for Kobe. Actually, perfect for him winning at all, but for what the Lakers were at that time, perfect for Kobe.
I absolutely agree. That 60-point game, I think it takes the cake there. Last one. These two are very awesome Kobe moments. I don't know if you could call them great feats, but these are just 2 things that I remember the most. First off, Matt Barnes pump fake in his face. Matt Barnes is inbounding the ball, acts like he's throwing it at Kobe's face. Kobe doesn't even flinch, doesn't blink, doesn't even move an inch. Compared to the 2 free throws on the torn Achilles, which Mamba moment do you prefer?
Oh, dude, these are 2 of the biggest badass moments in NBA history, probably.
These 2, I think, more than the others, even just signified Mamba mentality in a short story there.
I'm really partial to the torn Achilles because I've sprained my Achilles before, and that shit hurts. You don't want to do anything. But not only did he make 2 free throws, he also walked off the court afterwards by himself. But Matt Barnes threw the ball in from his face. And it's like a cynical motherfucker not to move an inch. I'm going to go with that one.
The Matt Barnes thing, if it was, there's probably 10 guys you can name in the NBA that if they were pump faking the ball at your face, you would legitimately think that they were throwing the ball at your face. Mm-hmm. And Matt Barnes was one of those guys at that time. Kobe being able to go up and make the 2 free throws after he had torn the Achilles, all-time tough guy move. One of the best moments in sports as far as just like a guy just being gritty and showing his greatness in just 2 free throws. But I do have to think that the pump fake to the face is probably one of my top 5 all-time gifts ever. So just for that simple fact there, I think that the pump fake, in my eyes, is more impressive. Mm-hmm. Just because you have to be just a different level of calm in that moment to not freak out. Because if Matt Barnes pump faked to my face, I would legitimately think Matt Barnes was throwing the ball at my face. There's 10 guys in the NBA that would have done that. In the NBA at that point, he's one of them. And to not move an inch, that's an all-time Mamba moment. All right, latency. So let's get back to it. Baseball chatter. This last weekend, they released who was going to be in the Hall, or this last week, they released who was going to be in the Hall of Fame for baseball. Only 2 guys got in, correct?
Yeah.
Larry Walker and Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter got in on the first ballot, and Larry Walker got in on his last chance. Yankees fans are very hot right now. They thought that Derek Jeter should have been a unanimous vote. Do you agree with that?
No. So if I had a Hall of Fame, I do not. I wouldn't vote for Derek Jeter this time. I would vote for King Griffey Jr. 2 years ago. I would vote for all players in Hall of Fame. I voted for Willie Mays back in the 60s when he got in, named Hall of Famer. Last year, Mama Rivera got in unanimously, and he's the best closer of all time. And up until last year, there were a lot of people who went vote for closer because they didn't believe that closer had enough points to a game to win a Hall of Fame vote. But for whatever reason, they all decided Mama Rivera did things the right way. He's the best all-time position. Everybody vote for him. Derek Jeter was never the top 4, was never the top 5 shortstop in the game. Technically speaking, he's the best shortstop on his own team because everybody comes to play shortstop. So, no, should not be unanimous because if you're going to tell me he should be unanimous, but King Griffey Jr. should not have been, I want to know why the person who did not vote for King Griffey Jr. voted for Derek Jeter. I'm happy one person did not. Because that means that he's holding himself, at least, to his own standard that he created.
Yeah, I just absolutely think that that's just so bizarre that people come out after one guy who happened to be a Yankee gets in unanimously. Automatically, any Yankee ever we're going to hear that, goes down as an all-time great should have been in with a unanimous vote. That's absolutely terrible. Like, you think about great baseball players in MLB history. Babe Ruth. Take your pick. Take your pick. Any player ever. Ted Williams. Any all-time great. Did not get in on their first time.
Yeah.
One guy did. And it was Mariano Rivera, which in my opinion, he's not even top 10 baseball player ever. He was a closer, one-trick pony. He was fine. He was probably the best closer ever. But to say that these guys deserve to get in unanimously whenever history shows us that nobody gets in unanimously and just one time a fluke incident happened and he got in, that's absolutely crazy. Nolan Ryan didn't get in on, unanimous vote.
Maybe didn't get unanimous vote, but Babe Ruth didn't.
Nobody.
Just because one person doesn't mean the standard isn't still set for, hey, Derek Jeter, great shortstop, great guy, never did anything wrong, great person. Wasn't that amazing baseball player? Look at his numbers, they don't blow you away. Ton of hits, a lot of hits, can't play shit for defense. Pretty overrated in my opinion, but still a Hall of Famer.
Yes, absolutely, Hall of Famer.
And people shouldn't stress over the lack of one vote.
No, I absolutely agree with that. So Larry Walker, this blows me away that he got in on his last chance. 10 ballots, and he finally gets in. Why did it take him so long?
Yeah, I want the same thing, because look at his career stats overall.
Dude, his career stats were amazing.
Not really impressive, but I look back and look at year by year. When he was in Montreal, he wasn't that great. And then he went to Colorado, and he had 5 or 6 really, really stellar years, won an MVP there. And he had 7 or 8 Gold Glove awards. But his peak happened one in Colorado, which is like a zoo stadium. Everybody knows that. There's no debating that anymore. And he also did that right at the start of the peak, some would say, of the steroid era. Well, yeah, it's never been proven that he used steroids. He just happened to start hitting a lot of baseballs very hard in Colorado at that time. So I think those two things together is putting in people's minds of how good would he have been, 1, not in Colorado, and 2, was he juicing?
Yeah, I don't think that he was on steroids.
No, he probably wasn't, but because you look at his home run numbers, he didn't have he didn't have a gaudy amount of home runs.
No,
he had a really good OPS.
I think so he played 17 years. He had 4 seasons where he hit 30 or more home runs. Which 30 or more home runs is not that terrific. I mean,
today it's not that good, but back early 90s, pre-steroid era, yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, and to just assume that the guy was on steroids is pretty lazy, in my opinion. You look at his career numbers. The guy had a 400 on-base percentage over his career. His career. That's not just one season. Over 17 years, the guy had an on-base percentage over 400. An on-base percentage isn't a stat that just signifies that somebody was on steroids. If you look at it, it's typically the huge jump in home runs. The guy never had 50 home runs in a season. His career high was 49, and it was 1 year, and he never had another year over 40. I think that everybody that didn't vote for him, that just assumed he was on steroids, that's pretty lazy. That's a pretty bad thing to just assume that a guy was on steroids, because a lot of baseball writers, if there's even a sniff that the guy was on steroids, won't even vote him in, even if there is no evidence at all that says that they were. I absolutely hate that argument to say that, oh, he was on steroids, because honestly, you don't know who was. And if you let one guy into the Hall of Fame who happened to be on steroids, let them all in, because one guy shouldn't be rewarded and the rest be penalized. I think that, hey, steroid era, we understand what it was. We're trying to, they're trying to get steroids out of the game. They've done a pretty good job with the PED testing now. So you just go ahead and wipe that slate clean and just vote these guys in. Because, hey, the MLB didn't care about it whenever it was happening. In fact, they were almost all on board with this whole thing. I don't understand how it takes Larry Walker 10 years. I'll get into a more in-depth argument between Larry Walker and Derek Jeter later, and I'll kind of prove to you that Larry Walker was probably the better player, honestly. So anything else about the results that you wanted to discuss just overall about this ballot?
A couple of things. Kurt Schilling is at 70% right now. He's 70% to get in. He had 60% last year. If Kurt Schilling would just not tweet or talk at all for this year, he'll be in the Hall of Fame next year. He'll be the only guy again next year, probably, because Barry Bonds only went up 1%, and one of the Clemens went up 0.5%.
You know Barry Bonds is going to get in on his last leg.
I don't know, is he? Because this is his 8th year on the ballot.
Yeah, but we're looking at Larry Walker, this was his 10th year.
He had a huge, Larry Walker had a 50% jump this year. That's huge.
Yeah, that's all Barry Bonds needs.
He has to have that, though, and the way Barry Bonds has been keeping up by 1 percentage point. He's super close. Hope he gets in. Him and Roger Clemens both, but I don't think they will. That's all I have to say about the results.
One thing that I thought was weird, that Bobby Abreu ended up making the cut out of first-year guys whenever you have a bunch of first-year guys that didn't make it. And I'm going to read off the list, and I don't think that Bobby Abreu is the best player out of these guys. Paul Konerko, Jason Giambi, Alfonso Soriano, Cliff Lee, Eric Chavez, Adam Dunn, Josh Beckett. I could be wrong, but I don't think that Bobby Abreu was this all-time world beater. He made two All-Star games.
Yeah.
So I don't see how he gets the votes. 2 All-Star games gets you enough votes to basically keep you around for year number 2. And I don't understand how, here we are debating the steroids and whether or not guys should get in. I think that they're holding steroid-era players to completely different standards, because you have a Barry Bonds who's at 60%, and then you have Manny Ramirez who's at 28.2%. I guess Manny's going to make his way up since it's only his 4th year on the ballot here. But if you're going to let one guy in because of the steroid era, you have to put Manny Ramirez in, right?
Yeah, once Bonds and or Clemens get in, this is both the 8th year on the ballot, both at 60% right now, about 60%. Once one of them get in, you don't start seeing guys who've been in steroids, like Andy Pett would get on his 10th year probably too. Guys like that. At 9th, 10th year, they'll start getting in, and they'll push it off that long just to make a statement saying, hey, they didn't do it the right way, so they don't get the worthiness of being in on the 9th year. But the 10th year, it's okay.
And one thing that I thought was hilarious was that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens got 242 votes. Barry Bonds got 241 votes. That makes me think that the 241 guys who voted for Barry Bonds also voted for Roger Clemens. Mm-hmm. And then one guy thought that Roger Clemens deserved the nod over Barry Bonds, and I would love to speak to that individual. Just, hey, both of these guys are like basically slam dunks that they were on the juice back in the day. Yeah. Why would you vote for Roger Clemens over Barry Bonds? That makes absolutely no sense. Like, if you flipped it, Bonds got the 242, Clemens got the 241, I can understand that. Roger Clemens was phenomenal, all-time great. They were both on juice. Barry Bonds might have been the best hitter in all time. So I don't understand that.
Also, one thing I just noticed I'm kind of sorry that Cliff Lee only made one year about. I know he didn't have like that good of a career, but his peak was as good as anybody's peak was almost ever. So I was surprised that they didn't just give him the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, I vote for you, just give it about another year or two, just because out of respect for Cliff Lee.
Yeah, Terrell Davis, man. Basically is what it is. Your peak was so good that you could potentially make it in. Kind of upsetting. I don't understand a lot of this
I'm also confused.
baseball stuff.
Sammy Sosa, he's not going to get in. He can't get any traction at all.
No.
He's hit 8th in the ballot, too, and he's at 13%.
Yeah, no, I don't understand how Sammy Sosa is going to be left out of this whole thing. I think that people are weighing his post-baseball stuff way too heavy. It's like, guys, hey, just look at what happened while he was in the game. All-time great. Him and Mark McGwire both deserve to get in. That one season that they put together in the home run race was the best season in MLB history.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people loved that, and that's what kept baseball around. If that guy was going to do that for your game, give him a little scratch on the back, give him a bust, throw him in there. So, latency, it is time to give our shittiest take of the week. Each week we watch a lot of sports television, listen to a lot of sports radio, we listen to a lot of bad takes. What is your shittiest take of the week?
You go ahead and go first. I'm having a hard time pulling mine up.
Okay. So mine's pretty much a slam dunk. It's to everybody that was basically arguing whether or not Derek Jeter should be first ballot, unanimous Hall of Famer. Okay? And I'm going to compare his stats to the guy who just got in the same year as Derek Jeter on his 10th ballot. His 10th time. His last leg to get in, and he barely squeaks into the Hall of Fame, while you think Derek Jeter should be a first ballot, unanimous Hall of Famer. So baseball. The way that I look at baseball is, yes, it is the ultimate sport where people, if everybody does their job, your team will be good. I wouldn't consider baseball a team sport because of the simple fact that there's basically zero. Your job, if you do your job, in the second, say you're shortstop. If the second baseman does his job and you do your job at second base, they are completely by themselves. So you can be the best player in MLB history. Let's look at Nolan Ryan, for example. Never won a championship. You look at a lot of guys who are the best players in baseball. Mike Trout. He's played in one playoff game, and that's because they got a wild card. Mike Trout is never in the playoffs, and he is by far the best player in today's game. People that want Derek Jeter to be a first ballot, unanimous Hall of Famer are just looking at the team stats. Baseball is a team sport in the fact that, hey, if you're not on a good team, your team is not going to win the championship. If you have one player on your team, that will not win you a championship. I'm going to compare the stats now of Larry Walker and Derek Jeter. This is going to blow your mind, honestly. So, Larry Walker, we're going to go head-to-head career batting average, okay? I'm going to do every stat that is basically a measuring stick for the Hall of Fame. Batting average. Larry Walker leads Derek Jeter 313 to 310. On base percentage, Larry Walker leads Derek Jeter 400 to 377. On base plus slugging, OPS. Larry Walker leads Derek Jeter 965 to 817. That's significant. 965 to 817. Now we're going to get into totality numbers on who had the most numbers in totality. Plate appearances. Derek Jeter leads 12,602 compared to Larry Walker's 830. So we'll say roughly 400 more plate appearances than Larry Walker. Home runs. Larry Walker leads 383 to Derek Jeter's 260. RBIs are identical. 1,311 to 1,311. And that's with Derek Jeter having 400 more plate appearances. Strikeouts. Derek Jeter leads 1,840 to 1,231. Career WAR. Larry Walker leads Derek Jeter 72.7 to 72.4. Larry Walker has more gold gloves with 7 compared to Derek Jeter's 5. Larry Walker has 3 batting titles to Derek Jeter's 0. And Larry Walker has an MVP on his name, and Derek Jeter has exactly 0. So to say that a guy who has worse career numbers than a man who took 10 years on the ballot to get in, and you think that the guy who has the worst numbers should get in first time unanimously just because he was on good teams is an absolute terrible argument. That's basically like taking, let's go ahead and say that Alshon Jeffrey, he's won a Super Bowl, and he's been on good teams, compared to him to, Brandon Marshall. Never really on a good team. His career numbers shatter Alshon Jeffrey. So to look back and say, man, Alshon Jeffrey, he was a great player because he won one Super Bowl. That's absolutely a lazy argument. Baseball is such an odd sport where one guy doesn't move the needle at all. And I'm willing to say that those Yankees teams would have won just as many World Series if they would have had a Javier Baez, Angelton Simmons. The list goes on and on. You could have taken 5 or 6 different shortstops during that era, threw them on the Yankees instead of Derek Jeter, and they would have been just fine. Larry Walker leads in every single statistical category that you could care about. I think I left hits out because it's such an odd thing to just say hits whenever Derek Jeter has so many more plate appearances there. Derek Jeter does blow him out of the water in that, but his batting average isn't as good as Larry Walker, so it's irrelevant. It's just lazy. It's lazy to say that just because Derek Jeter was on good teams that he should be a unanimous vote in, compared to Larry Walker who had to wait 10 freaking years.
Mine also is about Derek Jeter, come from Max Kellerman from First Take on ESPN. The tweet is, Derek Jeter, the first ballot Hall of Famer, if he were the right fielder for Milwaukee Brewers, never played a playoff game. Had over 3,400 hits, 1,900 runs, a 14-time All-Star, and 5-time World Series champion. So, here's the things he would not have if he was right fielder for Milwaukee Brewers. 1,900 runs, 14-time All-Star, and in the tweet, literally one sentence before this, he said, never play a playoff game, he would still have 5 World Series titles.
That's terrible.
Later in the thread, he goes on to say that Derek Jeter played great defense. His defensive WAR for his lifetime was negative 152.
It was negative?
Yes. He was a terrible defender. According to Baseball Reference's WAR rating, Derek Jeter had 245 below average on the WAR calculator thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, terrible.
Still won 5 Gold Gloves.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Gold Gloves. I'm laughing at the fact that Gold Glove is like the worst the worst award that they give out every year.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a fine line there for that, but yeah, no. Matt Kellerman, just makes no sense. He wouldn't have 100 runs because he wouldn't be hitting that many times. He would be a 14-time All-Star if he played in Milwaukee and not for the Yankees. He probably would have fewer hits because he didn't play for the Yankees. And he wouldn't win a championship because the Brewers never win a chip.
Runs is the most irrelevant stat you could ever have as a baseball player.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you get walked and then somebody behind you hits a home run, hey, you just went up 1.
You got a run.
You know what I'm saying? Where you could get a triple and the next 3 guys strike out behind you, you didn't get a run.
I will say, it is really weird how the same guys do it every year. Like, I think at some point in time, you got to look at it and say, there's something to this guy, but overall, you're right. Overall, you're just like, you have 80 runs this year. Well, you bat first, and this guy over here behind you, Aaron Judge, and Carlos Stanton.
Yeah, no, that helps. Typically, if guys behind you hit a lot of home runs, if you find your way on base, you will score a lot of runs. Absolute terrible take, and I think my favorite part about that whole thing is if he played in 0 playoff games, he would have won 5 rings still.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Just give him a layup there. All right, Latency, so let's get back to the NBA here. This week, we finally got to see Zion. First night out, dropped 17 points in the fourth quarter. I think I was texting you, just going absolutely bananas that night. I was just laying in bed, just kept throwing my arms up whenever he'd chuck up another 3 and just drain it. Has anything impressed you about Zion over these last 3 games?
Yeah, he's been impressive, but how even like he did in college, but tonight on the NBA court, that's really impressive, being 6'6". His minutes are increasing every game. He played 27 minutes last night, which is almost a starter's workload. I imagine they're going to scale that back some in the coming weeks because
I would never play him over 30 minutes.
Why would they want to pay him that much right now anyway? But I'm impressed by him. Ultimately, I am most impressed at the ability to bully NBA players.
Yes.
He's 6'6", but he's 280, 290 pounds.
285
His
pounds.
game-
He's the third heaviest player in the NBA at 6'6".
Like, his game is going to be bully ball. He's more athletic, Draymond Green. That's not an insult. Because Draymond Green athletic, he'd be really good.
Mr. Triple Single.
Right? That's not an insult, but he is a more athletic Draymond Green. I want to see him face a guy like Andre Jordan, Andre Drummond, guys like that. They're all big and strong, too, and see if that goes for him. But right now, a lot of NBA, a lot of it's going to 6'7", 6'8" guys who are like 220 and touch the floor. He can body those guys down. And those guys aren't going to want to have to body up with Zion Williamson every night.
No, absolutely not. Just because you dropped that nugget about Draymond Green, Dippers, if you haven't looked at the stats of Draymond Green, he went from Mr. Triple-Double to Mr. Triple-Single just in one season. 8 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. His numbers are absolutely hilarious. But back to Zion, yes, he looks exactly like he did in college, but it looks like the injury may have been a blessing in disguise. Like, he can shoot. And whenever he shot in college, like, he basically shot a laser to the rim, and it would basically just bounce off and, fly away. Now he actually has a little bit of arc to the jump shot. It is a very, very slow developing jump shot, but that doesn't matter because people are going to give him that three. It's basically what I said earlier. He's the Husky boy at the park. You would rather just let that guy shoot the three because you know that there's a better chance that he's going to miss that shot than if he just throws his shoulder into you and makes a layup. He's doing exactly what he did in college. He is very strong, the athleticism. Can't go without notice. I compare him to Maurice Jones-Drew of the basketball court, where he is so wide that you would expect him to be taller, but he's not. And he's just this bowling ball that is stronger than you and faster than you and will basically do whatever he wants, and you aren't going to be able to stop it. So it's very fun to watch. His shooting did impress me. Was there anything that caught you off guard about Zion?
He's going to shoot three like he did. That's the one thing. Like you said, in college, it didn't look great. And yeah, it's been 3 games, but it looks a whole lot better than in college. It went better than Simmons already.
Yeah, my thing that I thought surprised me a little bit was how weird he looked. He looks weird.
Funny. He's 6'6" out there, and he plays the post position.
He's 6'6", 285, and he can run like a deer, and he can jump out of the gym, and it's dangerous, in my opinion. Like, you think about guys that are that big, that athletic, like, typically something always has to give on these kind of individuals because it's just not fair.
Normally the knees in the back.
Yes. And he has thick legs. Like, you think about the guys who are big, who are strong, who are athletic. A couple guys that I can think of, Derrick Henry on the football field. He's built, but he's built in a V, where he's built, his legs are slender, where he's not carrying as much weight there. You think of John Jones, big, strong, athletic guy, very slim, very, very slender legs. Dwight Howard has shoulders that are wider than a Mack truck, but he's built down to where his legs are, pretty slim. Zion Williamson is built like a bowling ball. His legs are bigger than everybody else's in the NBA. And it's so funny to watch because whenever you watched him in college, he was taller than those guys. So, like, him running out there at 6'6", he looked taller than everybody else. He was bigger than everybody else. Now he's in the NBA, and, like, the median height is 6'6", and everybody else, like, he's just an average-sized individual whenever you talk about height, but he's wider than everybody else on the court. So it kind of looks comical out there, and he's just destroying people. I hope that he stays healthy. That's my number one thing. We haven't seen it before, so we don't know how it's going to go. But it's fun to watch, and he is maybe my favorite player to watch just from a comedy perspective. Realistically, dude, next time they're on, watch the game, and
we have League Pass.
You will laugh because it's kind of fun. And then after he shoots the three and he makes it, and he kind of just like mosey limps backwards, and like it's the same exact thing every single time. He's going to be a treat for many, many years. So let's go ahead and talk about the NBA All-Stars starters. They got announced this week. From the East, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, Kemba Walker, Pascal Siakam. In the West, you have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Luka Doncic. So just head-to-head here. Let's look at the East and the West. How bad would the East get destroyed if this was 5-on-5? these two teams having to play each other.
Oh,
It would be terrible.
they would get dude. It wouldn't be like I don't know. Do you know those times in college basketball season the tournament, like 16 team with the 1 seed, and it's okay to watch it because the 1 seed is so fluid in what they're doing,
Yes.
and it's not grind at all. That's what this would be.
This is
They would be so fluid in anything they wanted to do, and the East, like if they would score, it'd be like a triumph for them.
It would be a lot. Because if I was going to rank these players 1 through 10, I honest to God think that this would be what I would rank it. It would be Giannis, LeBron, and Kawhi all at 1A through 1C. And then next up, I would probably have James Harden, AD, and Luka all back to back to back. And then the final 4 would be Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, Kemba Walker, Trae Young. I feel like they have 5 of the best 6 guys out there
Well, they definitely do.
in the West. So if this was a head-to-head, East versus West, I don't even know if it'd be worth watching. It would be how you view the Pro Bowl. Like, it would be just like, whatever. And it would be kind of boring to watch. I'm glad that they're switching up these teams. And, LeBron, Giannis, they are the captains. So it's going to make it a little more entertaining because we're going to actually get some parity here with the teams. I do kind of cut the East a little bit of a break because I think Victor Oladipo is probably better than Trae Young, and Kevin Durant is better than basically everybody on the East roster. So you would have a little bit of more parity there if everybody was healthy. But for right now, Paul George would probably be the second best player on the East team.
Yeah.
And he's in the West. So, Leighton, we're going to do a snake draft here in a second of the starters here. But who was your biggest snubs or just snub of either of these all-star starters?
Biggest snub I stole with Jimmy Butler. He's averaging 27-6, and the Heat are right now tied for the second seed in the Eastern Conference. Tiebreaker has them third seed, but tied for the second best record Eastern Conference. And Jimmy Butler went to Miami, and no one thought they would win anything, and now they're winning everything. And Jimmy Butler not putting up great numbers. He's been a huge catalyst for that basketball team. And Trae Young, the Hawks are awful, but he's scoring 30 points a game.
That's
and
ridiculous.
It's a fan vote, so that's why it happened. But it's just ridiculous that Trae Young, second in the league, awful team. Jimmy Butler out there grinding and not getting any respect from the fans.
Yeah, if Jimmy Butler doesn't deserve to start in this season, he doesn't deserve to start in any season. Like, you look at his assists and his rebounds numbers, like, this is the best Jimmy Butler's ever put on the basketball court. Like, he is a 27-6 guy. Like, that is very, very good in the NBA. Like, he's checking all the boxes there, where you have Trae Young, who basically just has the ball in his hands the whole time, and he's either shooting a three, or if somebody helps off because he gets a little hot, he gets a free assist. Like, I don't understand this. I understand that it's a free vote, or a fan vote, so obviously your best players aren't going to get in. But Jimmy Butler, if there was a time that Jimmy Butler ever deserved to start in an All-Star game, this was it. He's playing on, roughly one of the best teams he's ever been on, and he's as the lead dog. I know whenever he was with the Bulls, you could make the argument those were Derrick Rose's teams. This is his chance to be the guy, and he's doing it well. They're a top 3 seed in the East, probably going to finish the season as such. Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, was the biggest snub. So, Leighton C., let's go ahead and do our All-Star teams. So we'll go ahead and pick our All-Star teams. And the way that this will work, we will each say if you pick LeBron, number 1, I'll have to pick Giannis because we have to have a team captain on both. And we'll pick our All-Star teams, and we'll see which ones are better. All right, heads or tails? This is heads, okay? You ready?
Tails.
It is tails.
Okay.
All right, Leighton C., snake draft. You get the first pick. I get the second and third. You get fourth and fifth, and so on.
Okay.
So with your first pick, who do you want?
I'm picking just the starters or
Just the starters.
gotcha. First pick. Give me LeBron.
LeBron, I knew that's exactly where you're going with that. I will take Giannis because I have to, and even if I didn't have to, I would probably still take him. And I would also take Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
Your next 2 picks.
Give me Harden, and then give me Luka.
So you threw off my rhythm there. I was
Give me a very excited team to watch.
I was going to take just a bunch of small forwards and try to run you out of the gym.
But yeah, that's the goal of every team, I think.
Yeah, if you take all small forwards, you're set. My next picks, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Anthony Davis and James Harden.
So that means I'm stuck with Kemba and Siakam.
Kemba, Siakam, or Joel Embiid. And it's
Ooh, man. Give me Kemba and Joel. I'm assuming injury turned off for this game.
so you want Kemba and Joel?
Yeah.
Where's Trae Young going to fit in here? I guess I'll have to take
Take
Trae Young.
Trae Young.
Kemba, Joel. I'm missing somebody here.
There should be anybody. Siakam.
You took Siakam too?
No. I took LeBron, Harden, Luka, Kemba, and Joel.
Okay. Then I have Giannis, AD. I already have a Harden. Well, you took Harden earlier.
Yeah, second round.
Okay.
Well, first round for me, but yeah.
I think that's where I threw it off. I'll have to have Siakam and Trae Young then. So, we kind of got lost in the snake there. You have LeBron, Harden, Luka, Kemba, and Joel Embiid. I have Giannis, Kawhi, AD, Siakam, and Trae Young. And the funny thing about that is all of the last 4 picks, all Eastern Conference players.
Of course they will.
That's kind of where I was getting with this. It's kind of funny to think about that there's such a discrepancy in the players here. So, wait and see. It is time to put you in the spotlight. Each week you go out and you watch several different movies. You bring at least one into review. So what do you have for us today?
This is going to be a co-review. Canada Drake has watched this. It's called
Anthony.
Kill Inside.
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez.
I was thinking Anthony Hernandez. All right, let's go.
All right. So basically, everybody knows who Anthony Hernandez can't be fucked up now. Everybody know about Aaron Hernandez, a great NFL tight end for a very short time. Then he killed
Flash in the pan.
2 people outside a nightclub, and then a year later he killed Owen Lloyd. And then while they were investigating Owen Lloyd killing, they ended up continuing that for the killing in Boston, outside a nightclub. Long story short, Aaron Hernandez went to jail and then until he killed himself. I made a documentary. It breaks down to how everything went down, how everything happened. It had recorded phone calls from the prison that Aaron would make to his friends, and then it had the people who recalled being on trial against him or with him. Obviously, this didn't get any major interviews. Like, they're not going to have Robert Kraft come in, and they're not going to have Tom Brady on. They're going to have, any real great sport people on there. But they did a really good job of using, archive footage from previous interviews on ESPN, on NBC Sports Network, on ABC about this, to really have people who you know and respect talk about it, too.
They
Because
should have had Chad Ochocinco on there. Because he played for them whenever Aaron Hernandez had his best season.
he probably would have gone on there, too.
Oh, he definitely would have.
Yeah, but like I said, they had on came out the guy who played on the Patriots, came out as gay 2 years ago. I can't remember his name right now.
I can't remember the name. Offensive lineman. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I don't want to really spoil him for you guys. But a large part of this whole thing was Aaron Hernandez. Starts off with him being in high school and growing up, and him dealing with his dad on his dad's bullshit, and then going to Florida and figuring out, hey, I can get away with all this stuff because I pay for the Gators, and I'm good, and I had Tim Tebow next to me, and do whatever I want. And then basically snowballed into him then wanting to be, I guess, more gangster than he was. When he was at Florida, and then he got into some wrong people on his life, and connecting with the same people. He go back to Boston every year. Did that by Patriots with 2 hours away from his hometown. He can go back anytime he wanted to and see those bad influences again. And it's all more the people, parents getting the kids, or even bad people.
Yes,
Pretty much.
and everything that happened with him, it almost seemed like the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was brewing.
Like,
And he just kept going back for more.
because if he would have went to UConn, which he originally wanted to, like, his brother kind of kept him in check,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, he was going to go play with his brother at UConn, ends up not going to UConn after his father's death, and goes to the University of Florida, where things started to spiral out of control for him there, and then goes on to the Patriots, which is, 2 hours away from his hometown, gets mucked back up with all those bad individuals, and this kind of goes out of control. The one thing that I will say that I love this documentary. I thought it was very good. It was entertaining. It checked all the boxes for me. It was sports related. It kept me guessing. It was even giving me information that I didn't know, because I actually did follow this pretty close whenever it happened, because it was a big deal. I didn't like how they almost made him seem like a victim.
They did, didn't they? You felt sorry for him at some point in time, like you were cheering for him. So, like you wanted history to be false in this, and I noticed that too. But sometimes him just get the fucking murderer.
Yeah.
He murdered 3 people. I mean, yeah, he got not guilty on 2 of them, but he probably murdered 3 people.
In cold blood. Just pull up at a stoplight and just shoot people.
Yeah, he shot 2 of them, reason. Then he executed the last guy right behind his house.
And he tried to kill another guy whenever he was down in Florida.
Yeah.
He just turned around, and it was one of his friends. Turned around, put a gun in his face, and shot him right in the face. And, he should have had 4 deaths due to him.
He killed 4 people.
Yes, and the one guy was obviously very fortunate and survived. But, every turn that they could basically turn this back and say, well, Aaron Hernandez had to deal with this. There was one guy in the whole thing that said, hey, listen, everybody thinks that Aaron Hernandez came from these gang-riddled places. That wasn't necessarily the case. He had a pretty, he didn't have a great upbringing. Obviously, he had a helicopter dad that was basically on him 24/7. He had a lot of bad things going against him, but a lot of people do. And people still, resilient people find a way to get themselves out of those bad situations. And then this guy gets a scholarship offer to go to the University of Florida, and he didn't do himself any favors. He gets drafted by the Patriots, who are notorious for helping these kind of individuals kind of flourish, and keep them out of trouble. And he couldn't even stay clean in that situation. The guy you shouldn't feel sorry for him. You should feel sorry for the victims in this thing. I felt like they kept trying to turn it back around and saying, Aaron did do this, but we think it was because of this situation that he was up against, and he was trying to overcome that. It's people can overcome things a million different ways. Killing somebody is not a way you overcome an obstacle. So I didn't like that part of it, but everything else, I think they documented the history very well. They had a lot of good people talking about the issues, including Chris Borland, who retired from the NFL after 1 or 2 seasons because of the head injury things. And they basically, at the very, very end, they came in and they were like, yeah, he had CTE, and we're kind of blaming a lot of these issues on that. I think that's a cop-out.
It's a cop-out. I'm not going to say that it didn't have something on his thinking, because, it most likely did.
He was fighting people in bars in Florida whenever he was, all he had played was high school football.
It's still not an excuse.
No.
In football, high school football, you get concussions. I had concussion in high school football. But, I'm not going to kill people because they spilled drink on me.
Yeah. No,
I'm based off from doing that.
That was the most bizarre thing. And then once, one thing started to happen, this whole thing just spiraled out of control. And nobody held him accountable for his actions. Even just the little fights that he got in at Florida, if somebody would have stepped in, Urban Meyer, I think that if you're looking at somebody to rehabilitate an individual, that's kind of a bad seed, Urban Meyer is probably the last guy you want there. And they even had Urban Meyer's wife on there, I'm pretty sure, and she was talking about how he would be over holding the kids and stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, Urban Meyer's not the best guy you want to come out and say, yeah, he was a heck of an individual on my team. Urban Meyer's always had bad seeds on his team, and he's done just about everything he could do just to win. Overall, I thought it was great, though. I thought it was a great documentary. How many dips do you give this? 3 parts, 1 hour apiece.
I really liked it. Very documentary. Like I said, they did a really good job using archive footage to give you more high-profile interviewees, because people you don't know who they are, you don't really care their opinion. I'm gonna get 2.4 dips.
I think that's a pretty fair score.
Let's give it.
I would almost even go a little higher than that, because they really went above and beyond to really tie everything together. They even showed you footage of inside his house.
Yeah. I went 2.3 actually. 2.3.
2.2. Oh.
Go down 1, but it's close. 2.4, 2.3.
Yeah. Overall, very good. So any bold predictions before we wrap this show up?
Bold predictions. 49ers win Super Bowl.
49ers win Super Bowl. All right. My bold prediction is that Andy Reid gets his first Super Bowl ring, and Patrick Mahomes is Super Bowl MVP. And I'll go ahead and say Patrick Mahomes has 4 total touchdowns. And on that note, for Dre, for Leighton C, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.